What's up, Devils? J-Dall back to make another goddamn video. And the questions we're going to be going over on today's video, fix this goddamn fucking camera. Fucking ceiling in there. Questions we're going over today are on the video posted 2 weeks ago. Greatest gore grind band of all time, question mark. Not counting Carcass, since only 2 albums of gore grind. 118 comments all the way at the fucking bottom. Question mark right at the bottom. Here we go. Life Eternal. Who do you think is the most overrated death metal band of all time? Fuck, that's a really good question. I will say this in my personal opinion. I know people are going to light this one up like a motherfucker. I'm not saying they're the most overrated of all time, but I've always considered these bands overrated as Pestilence and Asphyx. Pestilence, to be honest with you, like nothing really does anything for me. I mean, it's kind of sounds like Possessed. Okay, cool. It's like Possessed was way better. And then later on, what is that? By the third album, Spheres of shit. Well, that was just trash. But the Malleus, Malfilicum, or whatever how you pronounce it, and Testimony. I just thought that for me, there's nothing there. I get why people like it, but for the popularity to where how good it was, I thought it was overrated. Asphyx, same thing. I do like Asphyx. I like the Rack. And my favorite is probably Last One on Earth. That was it. I mean, honestly, then the comeback shit, I did hear some of it pretty decent, but I'm like, you gotta really knock my fucking socks off with the comeback shit, man. Because when I see that fucking "we're gone" and then you're back, that to me screams fucking posers. Posers out for a paycheck. That's what it screams to me. Because it's fixed. What was it? Was the third album the self-titled? I remember that being dog shit, snooze central. Didn't like it at all. But even just them in general, and how the first 2 albums when they come out, it's always cool. It sells like really, really well. I'm like, I own those 2 albums and I like them. The first 2 is Fix, but I'm like, it's to me it was always mediocre death metal. I'm like, it's good. It's pretty decent. My favorite song is Wasteland of Terror. That's a good song. But all in all, and I even have the that 7-inch box set of the demos. You know how I usually like the demos more. I'm like, to be honest, that's something I might even just if somebody offered me like a good amount of fucking cash, I'd probably sell it. I'm like, it's kind of like commemorating the fucking because they are a metal uh, piece of history, I guess. You know what I mean? They're at the forefront, but I listen. I'm like, this is fucking boring. Even on the demos, you know what I mean? Usually I like the demos more. So demos, fucking boring. First 2 albums, good, but nowhere near as good as how it sells. I know that some people, like I said, they're all pissed. That's my favorite band. That's fine. I don't care. I'm just saying, in my opinion, I always thought that was overrated. Like, for example, like bands like Sinister, first 2 Gore Fests. I'm just coming up with bands around this same time frame that don't sell near as well. Baphomet, the Dead Shall Inherit. Other bands that around that time that they're well known and they sell, but they don't sell anything close. But those for sure. Me growing up, I've always thought those destroyed Asphyx in the Pestilence. I love those way fucking more. So yeah, I always consider those over fucking rated. As far as most overrated of all time, though, first one's got mine. What did he? I thought he had some replies. What did they say? Well, like I was saying about his fix, some of the comeback albums. I listened to what was the first one? Death the Brutal Way. I remember it being pretty good, but I didn't pick it up or anything. And I remember them being better than the mid tier albums because the mid tier albums, I remember that being complete fucking boring fucking trash. But again, the comeback, like, it's like, where did you go, man? Except, what did you do? Did you get married? You had kids? You had your job? Oh, I don't like death metal. I'm burnt out now. Like a lot of people we see in the scene, and mark my words, 10 years from now, they're going to come back. And they're going to start playing live and shit. It just screams poser, man. It screams fucking poser. So it's kind of like, I'm not saying no comeback bands that I ever like buy something from or didn't like, but it's like, it better be damn fucking good because I'm severely fucking turned off. This fucking we're back shit. So where did you go? You know what I mean? So that stands out big time too. Who is surprised? Obituary. They have released tons of albums while playing One Celtic Frost for 35 years. You know what? That actually might be right. Obituary might be the most overrated death metal band of all time. And the reason I say that now, keep in mind, I'm a big fan of Slow We Rock, Cause of Death. I do like The Incomplete, but it is kind of boring. And I like Back from the Dead. World Demise, I remember being weak as piss, but I did like Back from the Dead. After that, but again, they pulled the "We're Back" shit, and in all honesty, and I'm not gonna. I don't. I've heard people that met them and shit like that after and stuff. These metal obituaries, played shows with them. I've heard they're cool guys, but in the back of my mind, I've always kind of considered those guys a bunch of fucking just poser hillbillies. To be honest with you, I can be completely wrong, but that was always the impression I got, and that maybe because with bringing in the rapper and shit, and just I don't know. I just they've always just kind of come off to me as fucking poser ass hillbillies that they're just doing this for literally money. And let's call it like it is, guys. The fucking "We're Back." That's all that was about. It's just let's oh people they're offered cash. That's all that fucking is. 100% for fucking cash. So and yeah, even then because like I said, on the first two albums I'm a big fan of, and it was definitely unique and didn't sound like anybody. But as a whole, yeah, I think they are because they would be considered one of the biggest death metal bands, like if they're play live, or whatever, as far as attendance and shit like that. I would have to say so. As a whole, they are, yeah, because they got a lot of junk under their fucking belt, and yeah, I would as far as their level of popularity, I would say, but yeah, I could definitely see Obituary being the most overrated death metal band of all time. I could definitely see that. Hey, Jacob Brockman. Hey, J Dog. What do you think of Death Breath? I like it. It's kind of Nikki Anderson. That's another guy that rubs me the fucking wrong way too. Um, it's like people praise that guy up and down, left and right. I'm like, why? He's got two death metal records. Like literally, he's got two death metal records. He did fucking Entombed Left Hand Path, and then Clandestine, and then fucking abandoned the sound. And he was doing this death and roll shit, and then he goes out, he does this helicopters, hard rock, kind of gay bar rock type stuff, which is fine, whatever. But it's just kind of like he's praises almost like this death metal legend. He's like he's got two records. Like what the fuck are you even talking about? Not the don't get me wrong. I love Left Hand Path and the Nihilist demos, so it's great. But it's like you did kind of one thing. The second album I do like, but it took me a while to get into. Um, but I could see why someone would love it. So I'm not taking that away from him. And then so he comes back and he does this Death Breath stuff, and you're like, oh, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, giving Head to the Dead, I thought that was a cool title track and shit like that. Honestly, when I heard about it, I was more interested because Scott Carlson did vocals on some of the tracks. What was it? Him and then was it Yorgon of Grave to the other songs or one Ola, one of them. They back and forth. I thought that was kind of cool. But when I heard Scott, I was way more. I heard Nikki Anderson and Scott Carlson. I was way more interested in Scott Carlson. Oh, okay, cool. Than Nikki Anderson. I could give a fuck what this guy's doing for the most part. But anyways, you get it. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good, but it's called like it is too. It's like, oh, it's more Swedish death metal that you abandoned fucking 30 years ago or 25 years ago, whatever the time was when you did that first EP, what Lit It Stink or whatever. Again, I own that. I own that in the full length. It's pretty decent stuff. I'm like, oh, it's more Swedish death metal. Yeah, you kind of were the starter of in a sense, I guess, or were. You left the sound because apparently you didn't think it was cool enough at the time. So let's start doing it again. I'm passionate about it again. I'm no longer burned out. Let's do it. It's like, oh, well, now you're 25 years in the game when it's been done 10 million times. We didn't really need another album like this. But it's pretty good. I own it, just like the band Tormented when they did their first album. I put it on. It's good. It's kind of like when I got them, I was like, oh, cool. I like them. And I picked them up. And when I go back to them in the last year or so, listen to them, they almost don't hold up that well. I'm kind of like, it's just some Swedish death metal that, quite frankly, fucking Entrails Tales from the Morgue is way better in my book. So, good diss, own them. Don't listen to them very often. And Nikki Anderson, as far as I'm concerned, get lost, bro. Sewer vomits. He's talking about music videos. What's your least favorite music videos? I don't really watch too many music videos, to be honest with you guys. Because honestly, I just don't really. If it's gonna be watch it, it'd be pretty much just on YouTube now, right? And anytime I pretty much don't watch anything on YouTube. I mean, like I'm not going to say never, but very, very rarely. I listen to stuff on YouTube. I listen to podcasts. I listen to some music. Um, just yeah, informative shit, things like that. But as far as watching, so because you obviously the music you have to physically watch, I very few. You know what I mean? So I want to say if I have a least favorite. Joshua Michael, question J Dog, do you listen to any hardcore bands at all? I've answered that before. Yes, I do. A few. Negative Approach, my all-time favorite. Or they're all, or are all they're all for homeboys. I don't think hardcore's for homeboys. I never said that. I recently went to a local hardcore show because a close friend of mine really wanted to go and asked me to go since I was the only one with experience going to shows. Some of the songs were decent enough, but god damn it, I can't take the karate moshing at all. I can see that. The things about hardcore, I definitely had like kind of like a bad taste in my mouth about it when like I was in my teenage years. You know, just being kind of like extreme metal only. And it kind of still stands. You know, it seems like hardcore got not annoying as fuck in kind of like the 90s. The 80s hardcore shit was just more true, almost like kind of like the punk scene and things like that. The 90s, it just seemed like that's when it got commercial and just attracting a lot of the mall music people, I guess, or whatever the fuck you want to call them, and just not real music fans. I guess you could say that. Whereas opposed to the 80s, it was another lifestyle with the punks and the hardcore guys. It was, even if they didn't like metal, that was, they had the lifestyle factor of it, you know, with wearing the, you know, the jackets with the patches, the goddamn mohawks, the fucking they bought records, and you know what I mean. They had the whole thing. You know what I mean? Kind of like metalheads. It's just it was slightly different and slightly different music. Um, so I had definitely respect for that. It's just it's actual music fucking fans, as opposed to when you got to the '90s. This is just a bunch of fucking. You guys know what I'm saying? Like it's not like it's just you could say that they just didn't come off as music fans to me. It's just a bunch of fucking guys that listen to it in high school and they don't when they get out of it. And so that like bands like Hatebreed and shit, like I don't know, it just doesn't have that lifestyle approach feeling as bands like Negative Approach or Discharge or Black Flag and things like that. It just it's fucking didn't. So that's kind of why I've always had a bad taste in my mouth. But growing up and then going back to it, like some of the '80s stuff I did like for example, like I love Negative Approach. So I know something I think is for homeboys. Even the shit that the '90s stuff and that I didn't care about, whatever. I don't know if I consider it for homeboys. It's just the main fan base of it. To me, they're not, for the most part, they're just not music fans. You know, they don't collect records. They probably don't collect CDs no more. At the time, they probably bought CDs because that's all that you can listen to music on. But they just don't come off to me as genuine music fans. They come off to me as fucking just kind of like football fans, and that's what they listen to in the car and shit. And when they were putting on music, you know what I mean? They just, but not, yeah, just not music fans. That's the best way I can describe it. That's how they've always come off to me as. Poser Metal Records question. All right, J Dog, what are your top 5 posers of metal? It can be an artist, band, song, album, or even a label. Huh, that's a pretty good one. Top 5 posers of metal. I'm not even gonna throw in the fucking the usuals, the Panteras and Slipknots, because as far as I'm sure, those guys aren't even in the same scene as me. And again, when I was bringing them up, it's not the actual bands that were bothering me; it was the fucking fan base. So I'm going to completely limit. I'm talking about in the real metal scene, the scene that I'm into. Because the other shit, even like I said, Pantera, I do consider a metal band. It's just commercial metal music shit. It's a scene that I don't care about. You know what I mean? It's not in the same realm. It's just flat out now. Some of them will spill over into it, but that's just it. So let's not even count them. Roadrunner Records. Those guys are total fucking posers. No, there's no doubt about it. You can argue with Relapse and shit like that. It could be debated. I'll give them that. Relapse, the Biggers, the Earaches and shit like that. Um, you can make a debate on it, but there's no debate with Roadrunner. Just looking at what they started to where they went, signing Nickelback and shit, it just 100% was a business. Nobody over there is listening to fucking metal. I mean, real metal. Again, clarifying it, actual fucking real metal. So Roadrunner Records. Biggest posers that yeah kind of represent metal sims. I'm thinking of bands. I'm thinking of what did he say too? It's not a day it is. An artist, band, song, album, or even a label. It's popping in my mind. I don't know if I put it in there, but it's honestly bands like Obituary and 6 Feet Under is kind of popping in there. Granted, I like stuff by them, but the reason I say that is just because they are in that scene because, well, they started off and they were fucking great. But again, I get the vibe that the guys are all complete total fucking posers. Chris Barnes, I mean, 100%. I mean, I get the vibe that guy's just a total fucking poser. Like, I mean, like, just, he's in all this just weed and stupid shit. Like, he's not in fucking death metal. Um, but what it is, he attracts all. They're a big, huge reason that attracts the annoying fucks into the death metal scene. So, yeah. If I don't come up with anybody else, I'm kind of throwing in stuff like Obituary and 6 Feet Under. Again, even though I do like some records by both those bands. Um, Fuck, who else is in there? Biggest fucking like the big top five things in the metal scene that represent the again the good metal scene that represent fucking posers. You could argue fucking people would say it, and like I said, I kind of like the record as a commercial record. Maybe Metallica Black Album, right? For sure, Metallica Low. For sure, something by Metallica. That's got to be because that definitely something to do with Metallica because they are a true metal band. I mean, Kill 'Em All. Let's call it like it is. It's probably the most influential metal band of all album of all time, right? It's definitely one of them. As far as what influenced other bands to play and shit. Um, but so they are, you know what I mean? Obviously, it had something to do with the real fucking metal, and yeah, I mean when they're those complete fucking poser sellouts, and that's 100% what they are. So that's something. Just let's just put Metallica in there as just whether you want to say Black Album, whether you want to say the Load album, or just in general. Um, Roadrunner Records, Metallica for sure. Those two. You debate 6 Feet Under, Obituary. Fuck. What else is there? I know there's something I'm fucking forgetting. That just screams fucking poser. If it's the top five, trying to go with something. Yeah, I don't know. You guys put it in there. What's the top five things that actual like just that just the top fucking poser shit in the real fucking metal scene? What do you guys come up with? That's kind of like I kind of came up with four. The 6 Feet Under Obituary are kind of debatable, but honestly, they kind of enter my mind. I'll just say that they're not saying they're for sure on that top five list, but they definitely enter my mind when I think of poser shit and just posers in the metal scene and just reasons posers get in the scene. I mean, for example, Obituary, first thing. I mean, they're the first band to have a rapper on a goddamn death metal record. I mean, that's does that definitely qualify as a poser? Definitely qualifies as what the fuck you doing. So they got yeah. I mean, they might be on there, but put yours in there, Devils. Probably because I'm saying probably give me something. I'm like, oh fuck, forgot about that. Absolutely agree. Goddamn question marks, Devils. I mean, people out just putting their favorite gore grind shit in there, just putting there what they think in there. Human brisket, dog. Question: have you ever had any records warped from the summer in the car by accident? Uh, no, because I was aware. Sure, dude. Sure, no. Craig has though. So I'll have this off with the fucking Don and Dead Craig story. I mean, I know Craig hates hearing this fucking story, but whatever. It's all just a story. But anyways, there was a Venom bootleg record that got sent to Hell's for as a favor to Don, or maybe we got one in stock and Don wanted to buy one from us. Can't remember. This is back when I think all of us lived at home, or maybe me, Eric, and Chase moved out, and Craig still lived at home, and he would come by and do some shopping, etc. Anyways, what it was a Venom record that came in, a Venom bootleg record. I know for a fact that Don wanted for his own collection, and so he saw Craig at least once a week because that was the years Craig was in Nunslaughter and doing Nunslaughter practice. Craig was still in high school at the time. And Chase asked Craig, hey, when you go see Don at practice, can you give him this record? He wants it. Sure, no problem. So he leaves the house, right, first thing in the morning, and puts the Venom record in his car before school because he's going from school to maybe even work and then to practice, but minimally school straight to fucking practice. He wasn't coming back home. So sitting in his car and comes to practice and Donnie's like, dude, he brings me a fucking taco. Say, I got a record that's like this. Say, a goddamn taco Venom. What am I supposed to do with this? That's the Don story. He's like, yeah. So he's like, we put it on the wall. He's like, we got the Venom taco on the fucking non-slaughter practice wall. Now the Craig story is like I said, because Don rips on him and busts his balls about it, and Craig gets all pissed because they're just doing a favor. I actually kind of agree with Craig more on this one. The story's like he's like, dude, it was one of those April fucking days when in April here in Ohio, some days they're cold as fuck, some days it's literally hot as fuck. You don't know. He's like, you leave in the morning, it's chilly. He's like, I'm doing a fucking favor. I don't even want to do. Toting shit around. He's like, I'm not thinking about it. It's in my work. So what was I going to do? Drive back and forth from school to there, then there. It's like now it's already a huge hassle. So yeah, I was going to sit in my car. Kind of forgot about it. It wasn't. Yeah, like I said, the weather thing wasn't planning on it because when you come from March to April, it's always cold. So yeah, he puts it on there. He's busting my balls for doing a favor that just like literally he's like, I didn't even have to fucking do. He's like, pick up your own shit then. Go meet up with Chase. Go to the Hell's Headbangers. Get it. So that's it. So but I kind of agree with him in that sense. It's like, guy did a favor, and it's like, well, okay, you kind of got. Yeah, it got fucked up on his end, but it's like, well, dude, I wasn't putting much stock into it. Just somebody asked me to do a free fucking favor, throw it in there. Okay, it was cold. It turned out to be hot in the fucking evening. Whatever. But so I know that they'd record sitting in a hot car. I know it could definitely happen because yeah, that the Venom fucking one. I've heard that story like 10 million goddamn times. So, but me personally, no, I don't. And the thing is actually, thankfully to me, it's a good thing that event did happen because it's always been in the back of my mind. That's literally the story. Anytime I transfer a record in my car in warm weather, that's the first thing how I store it, like out of the sun or how long is this going to be in here. That's the mindful thing of how I'm going to transport it in my car specifically because of that story. So save me a lot of fucking or at least one, minimally one, right? Warp fucking record because it definitely happens. So, anyways, that's it for this one, Devils. Comments, questions, concerns, you know what the fuck to do. Put the goddamn comments box, get an answer right in the middle of the goddamn morning. Later, goddamn it!